welcome back to the podcast YouTube. My name is Lucas, aka 3 Points Bench King, and alongside our good friend from New Zealand, Michael Wagner, to preview the test between England and New Zealand in Lords. New Zealand have won the toss. They've decided to bat first. Michael, thoughts on this team, the selection first? Did they get it?
Yeah, look, I think it was a pretty good selection. I mean, I think you had the option at 5 of either Bracewell or Mitchell. Mitchell's a better batsman, and the bowling's not likely to come into it. Neither of them are likely to bowl, so that was a pretty sensible choice. I think, you want your number 5 to be picked for their batting. Then de Grandhomme at 8 or at 7, again, almost picks himself. He's you don't drop a guy that averages 38 with the bat and 33 with the ball. It's just straightforward. Especially on Lords would probably suit his bowling quite well.
Yes.
Then you look, if Bolt was fit and ready to go, and they think he is, then you've got to pick him. In England, he averages 21 in England.
And he is playing. I will announce the team because New Zealand have announced the team. Tom Latham at 1, Will Young at 2, Kane Williamson has picked at 3, Devon Conway at 4, Daryl Mitchell at 5, the all-rounder, Tom Blundell, the keeper, at 6, De Conrome, the all-rounder at 7, Cole Jemison 8, Tim Southey 9, Ajaz Patel at 10, and of course your man Trent Bolt is playing.
Yeah,
11.
So that's right. So that's the thing. If they decided he was fit to play, made sense to pick him, you're always going to pick Tim Southey. It came down to who's the next bowler to fit in the pattern. If you've got Ajaz Patel in the squad, then you're a third seamer. Really, you don't need someone that's going to do the donkey overs at the end because you've got Ajaz Patel to do that. So it's who's going to make the most impact with the first 40 overs, Kyle Jamieson or Matt Henry. Well, if you've got Bolton and Southey with the new ball, Matt Henry becomes a bit redundant because he's only really useful with the new ball. So Kyle Jamieson's the obvious choice. I think it was once Bolt was fit, it became the sensible choice. Wagner's not so useful with the soft Duke ball, with the Duke ball, because it doesn't go soft, it doesn't get the variable bounce. You don't get that. The ability to bang it on the pitch and cause it to do strange things because it just goes through normally. Just asks to be hit if you do that. So he's not such a useful bowler that he has to become almost a left arm medium swing bowler, which he can do, but he's not as deadly doing that. So looked like a pretty good squad. Winning the toss, choosing to bat, that's what you do everywhere except New Zealand. And we do know that Lords will offer a little bit early, but really it's the bounce that causes problems, and that's going to be their day 2 and 3. So it comes down to bowling well and batting well.
Do you think there would have been a little bit of temptation for New Zealand to bowl first, considering that this England team basically is the same team that got absolutely smashed in Australia, did no better in West Indies, with Crawley opening, Ollie Pope in there? Might have been a little bit of temptation to say, you know what, they're vulnerable, let's get them in?
Maybe, but I think you still want to play the best cricket that you can play. You don't try and do things based on the opposition. I think you try and pick your best game. And so I think that was probably, you look at the conditions, what's going to be the best thing to do in these conditions? It's to bowl fourth. It's to have, and also, England are talking about not bowling dry, about trying to go for wickets. Well, that's gold when you've got Blundell and de Grandhomme coming in at the end. If you've got bowlers getting a bit tired and then trying to go searching, they could go the distance. This could be an entertaining last hour of the day's play. So I'm looking forward to what this is going to happen.
Was there a bit of temptation again to put up Kane Williamson and then put Devon Conway back to his original position?
So switch them around.
Switch.
At 4 and Conway at 3.
Yes.
I wouldn't have thought so. Devon Conway plays at 4 for Wellington. Kane Williamson plays at 3 for Northern Districts. So that's their natural positions.
Yes.
I mean, Conway stepped up to open, but that's and he did very well at it, but that's not his natural position. He normally bats 3 or 4. Kane Williamson has hardly ever batted. He's either batted 3 or he's batted 6 in almost his whole career. He's batted either number 3 or number 6. And you're not going to put him at number 6. So number 3 is the obvious spot. His game, there is the sort of thought you put your best batsman at 4 to protect them from the new ball. There is that thing, but I'm not sure that the difference between what Conway's capable of and what Williamson's capable of are that much different. That there's, I think there's no point shielding one over the other.
Okay, Kane Williamson has had a limited preparation time. He's been playing IPL over there. Came in, played in the warm up
early. Went home early as well to get to see the birth of his second child. So he spent a lot of time on a plane, a lot of time watching his team from the sideline after getting out early. But he did score a 60 in one of the innings against Gujarat. So he wasn't in stellar form, but the pitch he's going to be playing on today is a very different pitch to the ones he was facing in the IPL, and the bowlers are going to be trying different things. So we'll see.
Are you concerned? They did play a warm-up game against the County 11, a select 11 by England. Did quite poorly. Of course, this is a warm-up game. Teams sometimes get smashed and they win the series. Are you concerned about form of Devon Conway in particular? Kane Williamson, had only batted in the second innings, 9-ball duck. Tom Latham did not do well, so did Will Young. Is there a concern there?
Not a massive concern there. I mean, obviously, you don't want to see the team getting bowled out cheaply, but the reason that they were in that position is because they put up a big score in the first innings and then declared, and then bowled out the other team relatively cheaply, and so then got to face the start of the morning when the ball was doing all sorts of things and got knocked over cheaply. So there's a point where, yes, it's bad that they had that happen, but it was because they were dominating the game up to that point, and they tried to score quick runs to set up a declaration, and it backfired badly. That is what happened there in the second innings. So, yes, that was a bad outcome, but if you're going to have a bad day, it's better to have it in an 18-a-side warm-up match than in a test match.
Yes. Well, going on by that warm-up match, one player that did do well was the spinner Ajax Patel. Did very well in that game. Also did well against India. We've discussed on previous podcasts. He's got a lot of talent. He's well and capable, but sometimes his consistency is a problem. Do you expect him to be that player, that can take a wickets, or do you see him being more a contained bowler? What would you like to? I'll be more specific. What would you like to see from him this test?
Okay, so really, I see him and Colin de Grandhomme a good combination here. De Grandhomme is with the new ball early on in the test when there's a bit of life in the pitch. De Grandhomme's a very challenging bowler to face. Later on in the match, he becomes a holding bowler, just drying it up. Ajaz Patel's the opposite. He's going to be building pressure at the start, using a drift and he'll try things like a little bit like what you see Ashwin do. Ashwin will try different lengths and different lines and keep going until he finds the right place to go. Ajaz Patel will do that. He'll go for runs initially, but then he'll settle on a length and he'll start to just plug away at it and build pressure in the first innings. In the second innings, he's looking for getting wickets. And he's got a history of doing that in domestic cricket in New Zealand. He regularly picks up 5 wicket balls in the second innings, playing in Napier, which behaves a little bit like Lords does. Also, long straight boundaries, short square boundaries. It's sort of that's the ground that he does well in. That's the one that's probably the most similar to Lords. So there's a point where this could be a good match.
So as we know, with the Gone Home in there, Mitchell in there, their tail, if you want to call it, is pretty long compared to England's tail. No Wokes, who is missing through injury. So that New Zealand's batting order looks much more better on paper compared to England's batting lineup, especially when it comes to depth.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, England have got Stokes at 6 and Folkes at 7. So, I mean, Potts at 8. Yeah, he doesn't look like... I don't know much about Potts as far as his batting goes. Like, he can obviously bowl.
Yeah.
We've got Jameson at 8, who I think really is a 9. He's a guy that averages 15 in first-class cricket, so he's not, while he's made a really good start to his Test career with that, I don't think he's an all-rounder. So I think that if you look at 5, 6, 7, you've got Bairstow, Stokes, and Wokes versus Mitchell, Blundell, de Grandhomme. I think England's probably got slightly more depth in that part.
And obviously England have got a new coach, Brendan McCallum. And during his captaincy was a very aggressive captain, at times made very aggressive field settings. Will we expect to see that same aggression with England in this Test match?
Yes, in a word. Look, one of the things he said, and he's been pretty clear about it, is he wants the players to worry more about taking wickets than about defending runs. So, he said, if you go for 3.5 and over and pick up a wicket every 40 balls, that's better than going for 2.5 overs, runs and over, and picking up a wicket every 65 balls. So that's his you're going to average 25 both ways, but you're going to give yourself a chance to win the game with the more aggressive approach. So there will be gaps left in the field. There will be there will be the sort of leave to put everyone on the offside and bowl outside off stump. You try and hit me. There'll be all of those sort of things. He'll be talking to Stokes about those sort of tactics. It'll be interesting to see how sideline driven and how on-field driven the captaincy is. Because some captains do everything themselves, some captains take a lot of advice. And it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic works.
Yes, we know with Ben Stokes, who under Joe Root bowled a lot of overs. And on previous podcasts with my friend James Butler, said sometimes it's very hard to take Ben Stokes the ball away from his hands because he just wants to bowl all the time. Now we've seen with Pat Cummins, who's bowled a lot amount of overs in Pakistan. Mind you, pitch didn't help. So could you see an issue where you might see Ben Stokes overdoing it a bit with his bowling?
Holding himself into the ground, I mean, there's the risk of that. There is. And I guess the thing that he has in his favour is that he's playing as a number 6. So he's got 3 quick bowlers and a spinner. So, he's really playing as a batsman bowler rather than as a bowler who contributes with the bat. And that change in mindset, his job is to come and bowl 3 or 4 intense, difficult overs and then let the other bowl, or to give the bowlers a rest. So you might see him bowling with the old ball or that sort of thing more than stepping up, and really you'll see I'd say a short spell early on. I think.
Okay, as you know, New Zealand won that toss and batted. What's an ideal start for you? What would you like to see? Not necessarily the runs, but how would you like them to go about it? As you said, New Zealand haven't played Test cricket for a while. A lot of their players have been in IPL. Kane Williamson in particular. What would you like them to approach this? How would you like them to approach?
Well, I'd like them to keep Kane Williamson on the sideline as long as possible. I would love to see a big opening partnership. I think Tom Latham does tend to go into a shell a little bit. So I want to see Will Young try and score some runs early on to rotate the strike and do that. Tom Latham's got his 3 shots that he's going to play. We don't know yet what those 3 shots are going to be. We find out as the game goes on which 3 he's decided to pull out and how he's going to leave it. But he will. This is his method. We know that he decides at the start, looks at the pitch, decides which 3 shots he's going to play for the first 2 hours, and won't play anything else. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. Latham tends to be best on a pitch that's a bit too paced, so he might struggle on day 1 at Lords. He might be more a day 2, day 3, day 4 sort of pitch for him. That extra bounce, Stuart Broad could cause him some problems. Whereas for Young, I think it's going to be the key's going to be seeing off Anderson for him. So it'll be interesting to see those battles, Anderson versus Young, and and Broad versus Latham. But yeah, Latham's going to really have to. I think they're going to come around the wicket to him, and Broad's excellent at doing that to the left-handers. And it'll be interesting to see how he, what shots he's got, what he's going to do to counter that attack, because we know that's something that they're good at. So
just for
yeah, the big thing is going to be trying to see off those first overs from those two, and then get through maybe the first 2 or 3 overs from Potts. Put doubt in his mind that he's a Test player.
Yeah. Just for reference, England squad: Zach Crawley, Alex Les. Lees will open. Lee Pope will come in third. Joe Root fourth, as you mentioned. Besto, Stokes, Fropes, is their middle loader. Pope's at 8. Jack Leach, we haven't talked about him, 9. Stuart Broad and James Anderson will complete their squad. No brainer bringing Kane Williamson back to captaincy. Was there a little bit of temptation to keep Tom Latham?
I wouldn't have thought so. Tom Latham
considering what Tom Latham has done in the year, picking up from Kane Williamson, because Kane Williamson's been injured, hasn't played a lot of Test cricket recently. That was a no-brainer.
Kane Williamson didn't lose to Bangladesh. I'm sorry. As much as Bangladesh played well, New Zealand still should not have lost that game. And
we're glad we got that out of the way.
So
tell us how you really feel about that.
There was some captaincy decisions against South Africa and against Bangladesh that were and against India that were disappointing when Latham was in. And the difference between New Zealand under Williamson in India and New Zealand under Latham in India was quite distinct. So I think it's good that Williamson's back as captain. And I think if he wasn't captain, if he wasn't fit, I would have maybe wondered whether Daryl Mitchell should have had the armband. Because
really?
Mitchell's a very I think Mitchell actually has coached Captain Latham in domestic cricket. Mitchell is a good captain, and I'm just not sure that Latham. I think it's too much on his shoulders to be captaining and opening the batting, and I think to be the part-time captain and an opener, I think is actually quite hard. So I think Latham is a future captain, is going to be an excellent captain, but he's not there yet. And maybe giving the part-time role to someone else or Southey. I'm not sure Southey's the right call, but someone else to give Latham a chance to just focus on his batting, because being an opening batsman in England is hard. Opening the batting in England in June is difficult. So you want that to be his focus.
Yeah. Well, just remember that's you that said that. I had nothing to do with that whatsoever. So if New Zealand fans want to complain about that, do not come to me. Michael is the one that thought of that idea, not me. Please.
Yeah, I'm happy to stand up and say that I think Tom Latham's captaincy was.
I've had enough of getting smashed. Okay, one person we haven't covered is Tom Blundell, the wicketkeeper. Obvious choice?
Okay. I'm not convinced that Blundell is as good a keeper as he is a batsman, and I'm not convinced that he's a great batsman. So I think he's probably the right choice for now. But there are 3 or 4 good wicketkeeper batsmen knocking on the door. Kane Williamson's cousin, whose name is Dane Cleaver, Cam Fletcher, and there's a guy, Max Chu, who plays for Otago, who's a very tidy keeper, and is starting to score some runs too. There are players that I think are equally as good with the gloves and possibly offer as much or similar to the amount that Blundell offers with the bat. So I think Blundell needs a couple of big performances.
Okay, and we'll start wrapping up this show because the test match is about to start. What's the worst case scenario? What's something you do not want to see this morning?
Well, I don't want to see Tim Southey batting today. Look, I
asked my good friend James Butler that at England. He said, "Well, I don't want to see us 10 out for 0." And I said, "Why did I say that? Why did I leave myself open for that?" And you've just done the same thing. Why have I let myself open again?
Okay, so if I was to think one thing that I wouldn't want to see
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to see Kane Williamson running the ball off the face of the bat and getting caught at third slip. I think if that sort of that shot that he's got where it's just his bread and butter, and then now teams are putting players in there for that. I think if he was to get out like that, it would really dent his confidence, and that would be something I wouldn't like to see. I wouldn't like to see that wicket fall in that way.
Okay, absolutely. All right, we'll start. We'll end this show now. Quick prediction: who's going to win this this Test match?
Oh, I think it's going to be pretty close for New Zealand to win by an innings and a couple of hundred.
Oh, dear. For the sake of the show, because we'll get James Butler at the end of the series, at the end of this Test match, I hope you're absolutely right, so I can give it to him. Absolutely, I agree with it. Let's go New Zealand for reference. I'm picking New Zealand.
I needed a bit of a Glenn McGrath moment in there. It'll be a tight series in Australia.
Oh my God! That's I really wish that James Butler was, because we were going to get you and James Butler on this show, Mo. But as you know, there's a huge time difference. So unfortunately that, but we will try to get you in the end of this Test match along with James. So thank you for joining, Michael. Really appreciate you coming. And we'll wrap up this show. Thank you for watching. Follow Michael on Twitter at Michael Wagner. Follow me at 3 Point Spanish King. And thank you so much, Michael, for coming on this show today. And we'll see you at the end of this Test match.
Brilliant. We'll catch you around.
Thank you.